This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. In his new book, Queen Elizabeth II, A Personal History, royal historian Hugo Vickers draws on more than 60 years of close observation, private diaries, and over 40 personal meetings with the late monarch to paint an intimate portrait of the woman behind the crown. Written to mark what would have been her 100th birthday, the biography follows Queen Elizabeth II from a joyful childhood through her early days as a young princess, her marriage to Prince Philip, and her record-breaking 70-year reign right up to her quiet final years at Windsor. Releasing on April 9th, at the heart of this book lies the Queen's unshakable philosophy of service, forged in the moment her father, King George VI, died in 1952. Yet Vickers does not shy away from the more private and painful chapters of her later life. He reveals how deeply wounded she was by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's public criticisms and their dramatic exit from royal duties. According to a few news outlets giving a sneak peek into this book, following his marriage to Meghan Markle, Prince Harry appeared to have bitten off more than he could chew. According to Hugo Vickers, the author claims that the Duchess of Sussex quickly began vetting her husband's public speeches after their 2018 wedding. When the Duke and Duchess of Sussex first moved into Frogmore Cottage, the Windsor estate home that Queen Elizabeth II had gifted them as a wedding present, there was no sign of difficulties ahead. Yet Markle was soon reprimanded by the Queen herself for being rude to the estate's gardeners. Vickers reveals in another flashpoint that Meghan Markle reportedly insisted that cars be banned from the nearby sports ground because they were visible from the windows of Frogmore Cottage. The grounds, a 5-minute walk from the cottage, had long been used for cricket by royals from Prince Philip to young Prince George, as well as by the household staff's own team. Although the cottage was heavily fortified with extra fencing and security gates, the car park remained in view once Harry, then 41, and Meghan Markle, then allegedly 44, moved in during April 2019. The Duchess of Sussex refused to have cars on the sports ground because she could see them from nearby Frogmore Cottage, Vickers writes. This was not the only instance of the Duchess seeking to shape things her way. Vickers notes that observers quickly detected a California ring to Prince Harry's speeches. During the couple's successful 2018 tour of Australia, every speech Harry delivered had been vetted in advance by Meghan. By the following year, in 2019, Harry appeared increasingly uncomfortable in public, with the rapport between the couple seemingly non-existent. Vickers describes him as unhappy on Easter Day and, in a broader sense, like a man who had bitten off more than he could chew. In fact, the historian claims Harry was reluctant to leave the royal family at all. Meghan Markle famously used an official visit to Africa in October 2019 to confide in journalist Tom Bradby about how miserable she felt, which prompted the Sussexes' decision to spend that Christmas in Canada. When Harry returned, Vickers writes, he was keen to discuss a way forward with the Queen. He proposed a half-in, half-out arrangement. He would become self-financing but continue working for the royal family. In early 2020, the 3 private secretaries, Sir Edward Young, Sir Clive Alderton, and Simon Case, held urgent talks at the Sandringham estate and drafted a proposal. Harry attended the meeting only to be told it was all in or all out. He returned to Canada, reluctantly out. Another mention in this upcoming book reveals that the late monarch was profoundly wounded by her grandson's public criticisms. According to Vickers, the Oprah interview left the Queen so distrustful of Harry that she would no longer speak to him on the phone without a witness present. Whenever Harry called, she would summon her lady-in-waiting to sit in on the conversation. Her replies were reportedly reduced to short, monosyllabic answers of yes or no. Vickers writes that the Queen was essentially shielding herself from further pain caused by her grandson, noting, One cannot underestimate the pain the Sussexes caused the Queen in the last years of her life. Vickers recounts another telling incident that highlights the Queen's wariness. During the Platinum Jubilee celebrations in June 2022, when Harry and Meghan brought their daughter, little Betty, to meet their great-grandmother for the first time, the Queen insisted the meeting not be private. She required her lady-in-waiting to be present and explicitly forbade any photographers. "This is a family affair and must remain in the family," she reportedly told the couple. Vickers explains that the Queen feared any photo would immediately be leaked to American media outlets or Netflix rather than kept as a private family memento. The royal biographer also discloses that the Queen had cautioned Harry against rushing into marriage with Meghan, suggesting he wait at least a year. Harry did not heed the advice, and the wedding took place in May 2018. Vickers notes that the Queen was not fond of Meghan's wedding dress, describing it as excessively white with awkward, unflattering shoulders. A source close to the monarch told Vickers that her overall attitude towards the marriage was one of resigned acceptance. "Go ahead, it doesn't affect me." Even after the couple settled into Frogmore Cottage on the Windsor estate, close to the castle where the Queen spent much of her time, tensions persisted. In March of 2020, as Britain plunged into the first coronavirus lockdown, the Queen, then just shy of her 94th birthday, mastered the art of Zoom. Her subjects watched her receive ambassadors and speak with charity workers from behind palace screens. Meanwhile, in Canada, the Sussexes faced sharp criticism for jetting off to California just before borders slammed shut. While the rest of the country pulled together, they appeared to be looking after themselves. The Queen, according to a confidant, took a very dim view of her grandson's decision. "And now Harry has opted out," she remarked. "And for what? To be a carer for Archie?" The following year, in early 2021, the Duke of Edinburgh, age 99, was admitted to the Edward VII Hospital for tests. On March 1st, he was transferred to St. Bart's, where he underwent a heart operation. His medical team nearly lost him twice. Just 6 days later, on Sunday, March 7th, with no apparent regard for the immense strain on the Queen or her husband's fragile health, the long-awaited interview between the Duchess of Sussex and Oprah Winfrey aired in America. Dressed mainly in black, the Duchess sat beside Oprah and leveled serious allegations against the royal family, including claims of racism, several of which have since been successfully challenged. Prince Harry joined at the end to signal his full awareness of what had been said. The Queen's measured response became famous. Recollections may vary. In this sneak peek, Hugo Vickers offers a poignant glimpse into the final hours of Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, whose legendary stoicism meant he never wanted any fuss made over him. Vickers described the Duke's last evening in April 2021. On the night before he died, Philip, then 99, slipped away from his nurses and made his way on a Zimmer frame to the Oak Room, the very room above the entrance from which the Queen's car would later emerge for his funeral. There, alone, he quietly enjoyed a beer. He gave his nurses the slip. Vickers recounted. He did not want to live to be 100, and he just slipped away. He got up. I think he had a bath and didn't feel well and laid down, and that was it. Vickers also noted that Philip would have been deeply uncomfortable with any grand celebration of his centenary, which he missed by just 2 months. He absolutely did not want to be celebrated, the biographer explained. If you remember, nothing was planned for it. He had been well enough. I suspect that all you would have seen is him going to church. Philip had followed the same modest tradition for his 80th and 90th birthdays. For his 90th, around 120 members of his extended family flew in from Canada, Germany, and beyond. Their line was that it was just so nice that he was there and they could celebrate that with him, Vickers recalled, because often they would just come over for a funeral. The book also reveals the quiet sorrow of the Queen. who had been married to Philip for 73 years. She was not at his bedside when he passed. In earlier years, she had repeatedly asked staff to alert her whenever Philip was about to leave a room, only to be told His Royal Highness left 20 minutes ago. According to Vickers, the Queen was absolutely furious that, as so often in life, he left without saying goodbye. By 2022, the Platinum Jubilee should have been a moment of celebration at the close of the longest reign in British history. Instead, the Queen's mind was clouded by family troubles involving both Prince Harry and the then Prince Andrew, as well as the increasingly unpredictable Prime Minister in Boris Johnson. Andrew had already stepped back from his royal duties in November 2019 for the foreseeable future. By January 2022, he had relinquished all public appointments and stopped using his HRH style. A substantial sum, paid without admission of liability, was quietly donated to Virginia Giuffre and her charities to prevent the scandal from overshadowing the Jubilee. And on top of all that the Queen was dealing with, she also had cancer. So when you think about how cruel Harry and Meghan were to the Queen, this pretty much sums it up. And you can't feel any kind of empathy or sympathy or forgiveness at this moment for those two creatures out in Montecito who think that they're owed an apology from the royal family. Like Meghan, hell will freeze over first before you get anything close to that. And even if hell does freeze over, you're still not going to get it. And this is why we're all so invested in this saga, because we all want to see this couple's comeuppance for what they have done. It's not because we care or we're interested in Harry and Meghan, because don't get it twisted, Meghan, if you're listening, you're not that special. In fact, you're not special at all. We want to see you be held accountable for the harm that you've caused to so many people, including the royal family, especially the Queen. That is why people like us still talk about you, because we're not going to allow you to just go ahead and sweep it under the rug as if none of that happened. Also, the Sussexes can rebuild their stinky little stupid brand. We don't care, Meghan, if your feelings are hurt hearing about how the Queen so disliked you. In fact, I know that's probably got you seething right now that the world knows how despised you were by this family because of what you did. So you can look in the mirror and make up all the excuses and tell yourself that you are kind and compassionate and that we're just haters. But you know deep down inside that you're ugly, insecure, and jealous. Because we all know that deep down inside, Meghan knows that she'll never be on the same level as William and Catherine, no matter how hard she tries to pretend that she has any kind of class or grace. She has shown the world that she is a true asshole. Even if Harry and Meghan continue to keep trying to silence people's voices, there's still going to be more voices popping up. For every one voice that gets shut down, at least 5 more pop on up. I think it's pretty evident that Harry and Meghan don't care about family. And we know that this whole campaign around his security is not because he truly does want to bring those invisible children back to the UK for them to get to know their family. No, we know that that's a joke. Harry and Meghan are desperate to get that IPP status back because they're in a lot of shit. They really are. And with everything that we are watching unfold, it's only a matter of time when all of this starts surfacing. And I'm not talking about the mainstream media. I'm talking about other independent journalists who have bigger platforms. We just need one, like a Patrick Bet-David or Glenn Beck. We just need one to launch this out into the main, which I would say independent mainstream media, which are those voices. That's all we need. As exhausting as it is, it's really important that we continue to keep reminding people of how nasty and cruel Meghan was to a woman who gave Meghan the platform that she has now, and then made life miserable, and then made the remaining life of 2 people who were beloved by a nation so miserable. Nah, we ain't gonna forget that. But what do you guys think? Are you guys looking forward to this book releasing on April 9th? I'm going to go ahead and check it out. Maybe there'll be some additional stories that we can talk about here on this channel. But definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
It was such a fraud.